it going, everyone? So quite a while ago on my channel I made a video talking about some of the best mods, the 5 best mods that you can do to your Saab 9.3. And back then I didn't have this car, I had my B207 Saab 9.3. Of course I still have that car. But I rewatched that video lately and I still get comments on it now and then, and it really was, quite frankly, a terrible video. So I'm going to go ahead and give it another shot, this time focusing specifically on the B284 motor in this car, my 2008 Saab 9.3 Turbo X. So just a quick disclaimer, I'm sure all of you are pretty much all aware of this, but the mods I'm going to be talking about will obviously apply to whatever Saab you have, or pretty much whatever car you have, really. But I'm just using my B284 Turbo X as an example. So I'm going to divide this video into 2 separate parts. The first part is going to be more like basic bolt-on, like general, more common mods, and the second part's going to be more like if you want big power, like more power than normal, these are the mods that you should do type of thing. So the first mod that I'm going to be talking about is probably the most popular choice for any mod on a car, and that is the exhaust. Getting a performance exhaust on your car not only makes it sound better, but it also has performance benefits as well, especially when you get a good quality system. So this car specifically has a Corona downpipe, a Corona mid-pipe, and then it has a rear muffler delete that was done by one of the previous owners. So you guys have heard this car a million times before, so this time I'm not going to put some exhaust clips in. I'll spare, you guys have seen the same clips 50 times, I'll spare that from you. But if you are interested in hearing what it sounds like, I'll put a link to a montage video up in the top corner there. Having a less restrictive exhaust, quite frankly, helps with a lot of things. I'm not going to get too into that in this video, but as I'll talk about here in a second, the proof is in the pudding with this stuff, as when I took this to the dyno before it had the exhaust and after it had the exhaust, and parts I'm going to talk about here in a second. So the next mod that you should do to your Saab 9.3 or 9.5 or whatever is an intercooler. Especially out here in this climate of Arizona. Of course right now it is winter, so it's pretty much the best time of the year to drive this car. But an intercooler really helps, specifically with what's called heat soak that I've noticed. So heat soak is quite a problem here in the desert for these turbocharged cars that have stock cooling systems, or stock intercoolers, I guess I should say more specifically, because once these 110, 115 degree temperatures get into these cars and you still have your stock intake, you still have your stock intercooler, the intercoolers aren't able to produce cool enough air to really give you that full potential out of your turbo. So of course that means that you're getting much hotter air. Hotter air is less dense, and less dense air, less air in the turbo and the engine and everything is just not good. It means less power pretty much. So this car, as you can see from the shiny aluminum in the engine bay, has a DO88 intercooler and charge pipes. These are charge pipes coming off the throttle body right there, and then the rest go off that end of the turbo down there, and the intercooler obviously sits right here. So I did a full video on the install of this. Feel free to check that out up here in this corner. In essence, upgrading your intercooler is really going to help you get more colder, denser air and really help build more boost and eliminate the heat soak, because this intercooler has completely eliminated the heat soak in these pretty hot weather conditions. So as I just mentioned with the dyno, so after I did my intercooler and my exhaust, I took this car to the dyno, and the before and after on the same tune, the intercooler and exhaust accounted for a gain of 29 wheel horsepower and 30 wheel torque. So those are wheel numbers, not crank numbers. So obviously the crank numbers are bigger than that. When you add a tune on top of that, that's what really helps maximize the potential of all these mods. So of course, if you guys recall that video, which I'll just link right here since I've already mentioned it a ton, after I did those initial runs to test the difference of the performance parts, I put Map Tune Stage 2 on this car, which basically is a better tune than what was on it before, because getting that proper tune helped maximize the benefits of me doing these upgrades and putting this effort and time into the car to make it faster and sound better. So getting a tune is something that is also huge. Depends on what you want to do. Some tune companies will offer you like a 50% discount if you go to get a second tune, but I usually tell people to do all the physical mods first and then go get your tune afterwards. Of course, there are a ton of different tune companies out there. One really popular one and good one for the B284 platform, the V6, is VTuner. Other popular sites are sites like MapTune, Brew City Boost. There's a few other ones out there, honestly. Everyone has their own opinion on what's best. I personally like MapTune, that's just me though. So tune, whatever tune company you go with, you guys leave your thoughts down below in the comments. What is your favorite tune company? What tune do you have on your Saab and why? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys think is best. Anyways, following that up, the fourth mod that you should do is an air intake. This is also a DO88 product, this air intake kit that goes from the filter all the way to the turbo. I did another video installing this, so go ahead and check that out in the top corner right there. So getting an intake for your car, some people say these open air intakes are trash and they don't work at all. I would beg to differ. First off, they make for a huge difference in sound. You can really hear the turbo with these. And of course, since this one is properly insulated, my intake temperatures are not higher. They're not any higher. I have an ESID 2. They're exactly the same as they were before. So because it's insulated properly, my intake temperatures have not been affected. But this better, less restrictive filter and this better tubing here basically helps reduce turbo lag even more and make the car sound a whole lot better. And it can give you some minor gains in terms of power and torque, but really the big difference with a filter. That was so awesome. I just got interrupted from filming and the guy came by and he's like, hey, is that an Aero? I'm like, no, it's a Turbo X. He's like, my wife is from Finland, blah, blah, blah. We used to have a Vig and all this stuff. I was like, whoa, that's super cool. So yeah, I just met another random Saab fan just out here. He was walking over there just filming, so I think that's pretty funny. And now there's a cleaning truck there, so might be a little background noise for the rest of this video. But as I was saying, now I'm going to kind of move on from these engine mods here, and I'm going to move to handling, which Saabs, especially these cross-wheel drive Saabs, aren't terrible handling as they came from factory, but of course you can always improve on that. The one big thing is with the suspension, and this car specifically has MapTune coilovers. So along with being able to adjust the stiffness with these coilovers, you can also of course adjust the height. This car is sitting pretty low, as you can tell. You can get one finger in there at a pretty steep angle, but over the stock suspension, this thing handles amazing. There's zero body roll from what I can tell when you're taking a turn fairly hard, and it's just, I'm just blown away with not only how the car looks, because it looks so much better than when it sits at stock ride height. It looks so much better sitting lower like this. So coilovers are probably the biggest thing that are going to help you with your handling, and if you own a front wheel drive Saab, specifically like an older 9.3, a strut brace is going to be huge for you too. The strut brace, of course, goes from one strut tower to the other, and it really just, it's supposed to help stiffen up the chassis and help the car really just handle better. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's not a very expensive mod in most cases. Of course, it's probably the easiest mod that you can do. You literally just 6 bolts total and you're done. But strut braces are also something that can really help you with your handling. So now that I'm done with the basic, more bolt-on style mods, which is pretty much everything that's done in this car with the exception of the strut brace, I want to talk more about some of the hardcore, not hardcore, but like if you really want a lot of power out of your car, you can do these type of things. With the B284, no one has really built the motor at all because you don't really need to. These motors are very strong from factory, but if you do have a 4-cylinder Saab and you really want a whole lot of power, you might need to build your motor. I'm not going to talk about that at all in this video though. Upgrading the brakes. Now on the Turbo X and the Aero even, they both have really good brakes from factory. These are 345mm rotors and fairly big calipers too. But if you have a 4-cylinder 9.3, upgrading to the Aero brakes is a popular option. I believe the Chevy Cobalt SS also came with Brembos, and you can get like a $600 kit to get those front Brembos on your 9.3 because I mean they're on the same, that they share the same wheel hub and everything or whatever, so it'll fit right on there. CTS V brakes I've also seen done. I've seen a couple people even do like Porsche Boxster brakes on these. I mean, so you can upgrade the brakes, but like I said, for the Turbo X and even the Aero, it's really not necessary unless you really want to do it. So your fuel system is probably something that you're going to want to do next if you've done all of this stuff pretty much. So upgrading your injectors, getting bigger injectors, even getting a bigger fuel pump. Now, I haven't really found an exact aftermarket fuel pump for this specific car, for the V6. I have found one on eEuro Parts. I talked to eEuro Parts about it, and they basically said, yeah, it should fit this car, but it's not made specifically for this car. So they have it listed that it'll fit for this car. So who knows? I think I might need to do the fuel pump in the next few months on this car, and when that time comes, I mean, quite frankly, I'll probably just buy the upgraded one. So of course, getting more fuel into your car, same thing as getting more air into your car. It just helps make more power. I don't really know how else to describe it to you guys. So fuel system, specifically with injectors and a fuel pump, are great things to do too. And then of course, to round it all out, how could you not want to upgrade your turbo and get something bigger? This tiny twin scroll turbo is the only thing holding this car back from making probably another 50 horsepower and more torque easily. I mean, this turbo is unfortunately pretty maxed out. These V6s, I'm kind of upset that Saab didn't put a bigger turbo on these cars. Now, of course, being a twin scroll and with all the mods done, the lag is pretty much zero. It's quite amazing, actually. A lot of people with the V6 will upgrade to what's called a 19T or a 20T. I'm not sure the exact turbo that comes with. It might be a 15T or 14T. Someone can tell me that down below in the comments. Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. But basically just upgrading to a bigger turbo, more boost, and therefore much more power. So like I said, the turbo is really the biggest thing that holds back these V6s. I really don't even have to do some of these mods to make the power that I am now. I mean, with MapTune Stage 2, they really only require their intercooler and a mid-pipe, and I think an air filter, not even a whole intake, just a filter. So like I said, this car has way more mods than it needs for the tune it has, and like I said, hopefully this year sometime we'll have a bigger turbo coming, and then we'll really crank this thing up, and then things might get scary with the drivetrain. I don't know how the cross-wheel drive is going to like all that power and torque, but we'll see. That's for another time. So there you guys have it. There's a few mods that everyone should do to their Saab if they're thinking of modifying it. That's it for today, guys. If you have any other mods or anything that you'd like to add to this list, leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have done to your cars. And that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.